you mentioned the differences between women and men. Of course, there are many differences.
Completely.
But I saw you speak a couple of days ago in London, and you put out some very provocative images. They very, very thought-provoking. And one of them that I'm going to make sure we pop up on screen on the YouTube version of this conversation is how men and women's hormones change through their life. And the thing that I really took from this image was this idea that men have a gradual decline in testosterone over a number of decades.
Yes.
Whereas women have this sharp, precipitous decline in estrogen during perimenopause.
That's right.
Could you speak to that and speak to these more broad differences and why so many women go through what you went through, I think, at 47, which you can perhaps explain at some point. But just take us through what those differences are and how they manifest for us in terms of the quality of our lives.
So let's start back at the first big bump in the road for everyone who lives, which is adolescence, right? We come into our hormones. We all expect that to be an awkward stage. We describe it as that. We describe it as all these body changes. It's something that we readily accept. And then after puberty, we enter our 20s. And by 30, our brains are fully formed, right? We mature our brains in our late 20s. Same with bone and muscle, such that we reach peak, all of those tissues, by the time we're 30. At that point, we hit a little bit of a plateau, but then start for men to decrease their testosterone in a very slow linear way, as you've described. Now, at some point in their 50s and early 60s, I see this because I have active men in my orthopedic practice. Sometimes men do get low enough on their testosterone that they're like, I am exhausted. I don't feel like myself. I'm popping tendons all over the place when I'm trying to do good work. And so we'll measure their testosterone, and it may be very large deltas different than what it was when we know what younger men are. So even for men, for my sons in their 30s, I'm asking them to get their testosterone checked in their youth. Because when I test you again in your 50s, you may have a testosterone that's within the air quote normal range, which in the United States, the normal range is 250 to 1,050.
That's a big normal range.
It's a big normal range. And so you may find at 50 that your testosterone is 600, which is still normal, but you may have been 1,000 and you're going to feel that. So even for men, being aware of your hormonal change, but that is not what happens for women. Women, after we reach our estrogen, every month we have this cyclical pattern of high and low estrogen that begets our menstrual cycle, which is normal. Our estrogen plateaus in our 30s. However, by the time we reach 40, and this is why this all happens, estrogen is predominantly made in women in the follicle, or like the eggshell of our eggs, right? Here's the miracle of life. Every woman, your daughter, my daughter, me, your wife, we're born with all the eggs we are ever going to have across our lifespan. So if we think about this in the universal sense, we're carrying generations of people at our birth. Isn't that fascinating? Yeah. Oh my God, to think about it like that. But when we're born, we have several million. And over time, we lose a lot every month, such that by the time we're 40, it's estimated that we have 1% to 3% of those eggs left. So it's harder to produce enough estrogen.
So women have lost 97 to 99% of the eggs that they were born with by the age of 40.
That's right. And if the eggs are producing the estrogen that you need, once you have so few eggs left, estrogen starts to decline, which makes our brain a little urgent to have more estrogen. So it produces a hormone called follicle-stimulating hormone, which tries to ramp up this egg process. And it becomes hormonally a little chaotic. Like if you measured a woman's hormones in the morning on one day and the morning of the next day, they could be completely in different ranges during the perimenopausal time. Well, that fluctuation in hormone levels is why women first start saying things like, I just don't feel like myself. Or they'll say things like, I am doing the exact same thing I've always done, but I'm gaining weight. Or I'm not able to progress in my workouts. Or it's when the most common manifestations of perimenopause happen: night sweats, brain fog, can't remember nouns. These changes that are due to estrogen, because here's what people forget. Not only are we at 1% of our eggs, which produce the estrogen by the time we're about 40, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone are not sex hormones. They are hormones, like thyroid stimulating hormone, like growth hormone, like every communicating molecule we have. I say that to say there are estrogen receptors, like little baskets to hold the estrogen, on every organ system in the body, from the brain to the gut to muscle to bone. So if these receptors are not being filled with the normal estrogen, nothing that they cause downstream is going to happen. Thus the brain fog, thus the heart palpitations, thus the night sweats, or things that people don't consider, but my group and I wrote a paper on last summer, the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause, where women, I had this, their entire bodies hurt because estrogen is a profound anti-inflammatory. So it seems like a lot, and it is. And so men are slowly declining in their testosterone. Women have this precipitous drop. I kiddingly say estrogen walks out the door, she slams the door, she never looks back, right? And we feel that until the time when the arbitrary day, I firmly believe that the day of menopause, the 366th day after our last period, when we say, oh, she's in menopause, it's an arbitrary number.
It's
right?
just one day, isn't it?
It's one day. You've been losing estrogen for 5 to 7 years, sometimes a decade. And then after that day, you're postmenopausal for 40 years. And so this is the reason men and women age differently. To circle the conversation back, it's because of the differences in our hormones.